All right, fellow movie goers. This is your host, Seriously Me, and I'd like to talk to you about a review I'd like to do. So, as you know, last year there was a big to do about a movie called The Woman King, and I did not go see it in theaters because I will not willingly contribute funds to a movie that inaccurately portrays slavers in a positive light. If I'm going to spend my hard-earned cash, think I'll stay away from that kind of thing. But as many of you may know, it was recently added to Netflix, so figured I would give it the opportunity to see what it was about. Aside from just like the obvious misinterpretation of the Dahomey tribes, presence and actual function, on the coast of Africa. And I have to say, for the stellar reviews it got and all the adoration, it really didn't stack up. It really didn't. And I don't say that just to, just as a movie. Take out, the fact that it grossly misrepresents the actual actions of the Dahomey tribe. It had a lot of faux pas that I couldn't overlook as a movie. One of my biggest pet peeves in movies is token deaths. And at the end of the movie, there is, when the main character is, or the daughter of the main character, a co-protagonist we'll go with, is trying to escape. One of her comrades sees her and runs back just to die for no other reason. Doesn't end up actually saving her or anything like that. It is a token death, and it's the worst token death I've seen in a movie since 10,000 BC, where the protagonist's mentor and best friend dies obscurely for no reason at the end of the movie, and it was awful. It was so bad. It just made zero sense. Didn't make sense at all. I was just like, what? Other things that I couldn't overlook were the vernacular was not accurate to the time. It was they used a lot of modern vernacular that wouldn't have been used. White people are just white people. They aren't identified by their ethnic background, like Irish, Dutch, whatever. They're just white people, and that would not have been the case back then. They would have been identified like Malik is like, oh, my dad's white, not like, oh, he's Portuguese or he's Irish or he's any of these things. No, he's white. It's not how he would have been identified. And the Dahomey King saying, oh, you're just catching Africans, which wouldn't have been a thing either. The Dahomey tribe would recognize other people as other tribes and would direct them specifically not as a whole as Africans, because Africa as a continent contains tons of ethnic groups, so none of that actually added up to making sense to the storyline, to the time period. It's just not there's no cohesion. If you're gonna make a period flick, you should do it accurately to the period. Also, I know they want to personify these women, and that's great and all, but when you have a combat scene and a woman jumps up on a big man's shoulders and snaps his neck with one hand, I'm sorry, I call BS. And it is difficult for even very physically fit men to snap another person's neck, much less a grown man's neck. It's not easy. And she just did one fell swoop. And that's not to criticize oh, women can't do this. No. If a man was on our man's shoulder, he would have a hard time doing that. And this was not a superhero flick. There was no superhuman strength involved. This is supposed to be quote unquote realism. And that's just way far out there. There were, aside from that, I would say it is not, by far, is not the worst thing I've ever watched. I watched X-Men Last Stand in theaters. Whew. There was a crime against humanity. But it was not the praised cinematic achievement that it was made out to be. And again, I would note the fact that it blatantly misrepresents the Dahomey tribe. The whole plot of the movie is like, oh, we gotta save these people from slavery, and we shouldn't slave other people or ourselves, because the white man's taking advantage of us. It was all very trivial BS, frankly. And then at the end of the movie, they really did lay it on really thick with one Dahomey warrior beating a particular white slaver to death in the face with a chain on her hand. Very, very symbolic. So I'm big into literature and cinema, so symbology is not lost on me. Also, Malik, the Portuguese captain, was his friend, or so that was how it was portrayed. But in the end, when he watched the slaves drown his friend because he was a white man, and his slaver, I'm not going to say he wasn't deserving of drowning, but it didn't really fit with Malik's character that he would let somebody he considered a friend just, there, he's white. Be okay, we got more of him. Yeah, so overall, very little cohesion in the movie. Vernacular, not appropriate for the time. Just all around, it was kind of a disappointment, honestly. I mean, I went in knowing I had biases, but I still expected a quality production, and especially with the rave reviews and all the adoration it got, but no, it was underwhelming, and frankly, despite its misrepresentation, still a disappointment. So if you're gonna spend your time on Netflix watching something, you could do worse, but I would not recommend it. Anyways, hope you enjoyed this review. If you did, crush that like button, subscribe. This is your host, Seriously Me. Have a great evening.